Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lighthouse Sessions. I'm really excited today. I have my new best friend with me, Arjita. Welcome to the show. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me. And what a great conversation we've been having. So, hi, everyone. I'm Arjita Sethi. I am originally from India. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. There are two fields that I've always been excited about building and educating. All my life, I've built educational companies, and for the past decade, I've been dabbling in AI. And currently, I'm the founder of Build with AI University, the first AI native university that helps people thrive in the AI era.
I love that. Now, there's so many paths we could take, and I always feel I owe the listeners, the audience, an apology because we have a lot of fun before we hit record, and so I want to acknowledge that. This is not. We just met today, so we are brand new best friends. But I think what it points to, and I want to pull out, is that like minds, when we find each other, the nerd just goes off, and it's like, oh yeah, manners. Let's hit record and share this with others. So let's talk about your two passions because it happens to be very, very close to mine. First of all, let's talk about the education piece, and then we're going to talk about AI because I think that feels like a topical conversation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive into the education piece, definitely.
So, first of all, how did you said I think you started your first business in your teens, is that correct?
Yes, I'm
So, just to be clear, you're an immigrant woman and you've never held a job, but you've been starting and running businesses since you were 16, so like 5, 6 years ago. Um, how did that go over with your family? Because one thing I know about immigrant families is you got to get a job, you got to work hard, and basically fit in.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I feel like you would have really struggled to fit in just because you're exceptionally bright and curious. Is that fair?
Um, I'll take that. Oh, yeah, sure. Who am I to deny that? I'll take that. Um, Jeff, it was interesting because my mom comes from a business family in India. So she was an entrepreneur. And at 16, I went to her and I was basically sharing how bored I'm at school and I'm not getting stimulated. And the only joy in school was all the extracurricular activities that I was doing. Sitting in the classroom, and that just did not bring me joy. So she was running this vocational school and she said, are you sure? I'm going to take you up on this offer really seriously, but you cannot quit school. So you have to have your school. You can work before school and after school, which meant no more parties, no friends, and weekends are going to be devoted to the business. And at 16, that is exactly not what you want to do. But I was so excited about it. I joined her in the vocational school and we ran that for 7 years. I finished my high school. I finished my undergrad in physical therapy as well while running that school. And the 7 years that I ran that school, built that school, grew that school, we reached 100,000 people. We built a core curriculum, and the focus was vocational training. What gets you a job or a living? Let's
Yeah.
focus on that because clearly schools weren't preparing you for that. We worked
No.
United Nations, we worked with local schools, local orphanages, and it was a bootstrapped, profitable business. Like we were not dependent on donations. And I realized that you could do good and you could make money at the same time if you really understood what is the need in the market and you can create something meaningful. So that was my first brisk with entrepreneurship. And at that time, yeah, the condition was you're not dropping out of high school. There was no way I could sit in a garage and do this. And
Yeah.
as a girl in India, and this is, I am 37 today. So this is 21 years ago. There was
Wow.
no way that that was happening. So yeah, that was my first stint with entrepreneurship.
Mom was not going to have you sitting in the garage tinkering with toys and computers, right?
Nope, nope.
I, I love that because I think a lot of when I meet people like us, I have no mathematical proof, but my observation is we're either the top 10% of society or the bottom. And it really just depends on how well regulated we are and how well we integrate with the world around us, because a lot of people try to fit in and they try to sit at that desk really hard. I did good in school, but I was so bored. I didn't see a future in it. And honestly, most of my passions were way beyond what we covered at school. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so how did you get into AI? Because first and foremost, I want to point out something. A lot of people seem to think that AI was invented in 2022 when OpenAI came out. You and I both laugh at that. I met a guy who's been using AI for 50 years, and I went,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
you time traveled. I'm kidding. But how did you get into to shift from the vocational into the AI? Because I think that's a fascinating journey.
Yeah. So while I was running the school, and I really want to emphasize one thing with AI is you cannot do or optimize something with AI that you haven't done manually yet. And while running the school, I was waking up at 4 a.m., going and distributing actual pamphlets to the local newspaper vendors. They would put that advertisement in homes. I would go to school, come back, and then I would, in the evening, teach classes, create curriculum, do sales calls, all of that. I had done that for 7 years. And I understood that for 7 years so well that I then heard the Steve Jobs speech. And at that time, he said, we have 1 million paid users. I'm like, I'm working hard. I have reached 100,000 in 7 years. He's reaching 1 million at a time. What is he doing that
Yeah.
I am not? And then this idea of like Silicon Valley came up. I was like, I need to be there. There are people like me. They understand why I want to build, why I want to create. And that's when I started talking to somebody online who was in San Francisco. And he basically said, I'm building games. I see you're working in education. Let's build something together. It was a message from the universe. And we talked for about, 3-4 months. And we realized we wanted to build the same thing. We had the same vision. He was a developer. I was an educator and an entrepreneur. We fell in love, got married. 9 months later, I was in the US, in San Francisco downtown, and I had enrolled myself in Masters of Social Entrepreneurship because the focus was still, I want to learn how to make an impact along with business. And I was here to build my business. And I was really excited about building something where kids could thrive with education. This word thrive has been really key for me because I did not enjoy my schooling. The best times I enjoyed was with my maternal grandfather when he would read books to me, when my grandmom would sit with me and talk to me about stories from the scriptures and the Eastern wisdom, when we used to sit and meditate, do yoga. Those were the best times. I could learn from my surroundings. So we started building basically The Diamond Age by Neil Stephenson. This was back in 2015 as a school project when I was doing my master's. We ended up doing an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. We needed $20,000 to build our initial prototype, and we begged for money in San Francisco Park. So with our laptop, can you donate? And we ended up raising $20,000 in 21 days and built our first prototype. And AI at that time was not AI, it was machine learning and basically a small library of Google Brain. And that's what we were using to kind of start, doing things.
Yeah.
But in 2017, Pokemon Go came out. And that
yes.
everything. Like the streets of San Francisco were filled. And my partner and I, we were like, wait a second, what if we added computer vision? Again, nobody knows this. Computer vision is AI too. Your camera is understanding what's happening in your surrounding. What if we added computer vision to the phone and kids could learn from their surroundings? We can teach them what's relevant for every child. Instead of
Wow.
creating curriculum and saying, do reading, writing, arithmetic, no, do what is needed in your season, in your space. So we took that model and we built our first computer vision model in 2017. It was fascinating. And we got selected as one of the semifinalists for Elon Musk's $15 million XPrize. We got selected in the best accelerator in Finland, where our research was happening in schools. And that just snowballed. And at that time, AI was not important. We were building an education company. Nobody was excited. Oh, is it an AI company?
Yeah.
And the journey started in 2015 for me to understand, to get into that. So way before 2022. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm fascinated because I think there are certain countries, and I think Sweden is another one where they really prioritize learning. And here we seem to think, check this box and moving on. But I love Sal Khan's approach in the Khan Academy. When he first came out, the world said he was crazy. And when I heard him talking about the deficits and how they accumulate, I was like, that's not really practical. But then it was also, we've institutionalized learning that everybody, at 9:01 a.m. you pick up this, and it's the same journey. And there are kids who will never, I had friends who were going to grow up and they desperately wanted to be mechanics or plumbers or carpenters. And they're like, why do I need to learn algebra? Now, one of them grew up and became a carpenter and went, crap, I should have learned algebra, but that's another. But, the problem is we treat those gaps as, oh, well, let's move on. Now, you and I are going to have more conversations about this because I am obsessed with gamification and learning and how technology can facilitate that. Because, again, you get what you get on YouTube. It's not always the good or the bad. Sometimes it's the crazy. But if you can curate lessons and you can help kids explore, I see this in my boys. They're both bored with school, and I'm like, I've had conversations with the teachers. One of them, she's real rigid with English, and I'm like, you're making my kid, who has been reading since he was 4, he hates reading in your class. That's a you problem, not a me problem, and I'm about to make it your problem. So I'm that dad. I'm nice to the teachers until they're mean to my kids, and then I'm like, okay, we got problems. Let's talk about what you've seen, because again, I think there's a lot of stuff, machine learning, that people now, I like to say that with OpenAI, AI got the nice marketing package and the publicity, but what have you seen evolving in that space, and how are you developing that skill in the people around you?
Yeah. I think to understand anything about education, we need to understand why are schools right now from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Why do we have that system? And it's critical to understand because it was never about education. It was about childcare.
Yeah.
It was the industrial revolution where people had to work in factories and industries from 9 to 5. What would happen to the kids? And when women joined the industries because men were off to wars, who's going to take care of kids? So let's open schools to keep them in these boxes where they would be fed and they would kind of be given some kind of education to prepare them for the same factory and the same life as their parents.
Yeah.
So once you start understanding that, everybody would understand why you and I are not okay with that system, because that is no longer the future any child or any adult is going to step into. The times have changed, but education sadly hasn't kept up. And it's working great for people who have a 9 to 5 job. You drop your kid in the morning at 8 a.m., pick them at 6 p.m. after school programs and everything.
Yeah.
They are fed, they've taken care, and now you just have to take care of their bedtime. That's it. And so that is the basis of the current education system that is running literally in every part of the world, maybe not in Scandinavia and maybe
Yeah.
some parts of Singapore where they are changing this, but most part of the world is stuck with this system. And
Yeah.
once you understand the history, you start questioning the whole outcome of it. Why is education needed?
Yeah.
And what I think more than education, what we need to imbibe in kids is the skill or the art of learning. If
Yeah.
they know how to learn, they will learn anything that is needed
Yeah.
for their season of life. We have very close friends of ours. Their daughter is amazing at reading. She's 6. She went to elementary school. She entered there and she failed her reading. And that was very strange because she was reading 3 levels more
Yeah.
her own. And she had not gone to a daycare. She had that one-on-one care with the parents and everything, all that support. And that was very strange for us. And her parents shared that she failed because she had never used a screen. And the reading test was on a screen. So she did not know
Ah,
how to operate the screen. So now she's failed the reading test
yeah.
because she knows how to read, but she's never used a screen. So these are some of the questions that I begin to ask, like, why are kids, young kids at 6, on screen 6 hours a day? Why do you need laptops for the kids?
Yeah.
Because learning happens without structure, in open, where a child is allowed to discover things and have the joy of curiosity. I feel education kills all of that and
Sucks
destroys,
it right out.
right? So that is my understanding of it, and that's the current education. And I think the way we are seeing things develop, I don't know if you saw Sal Khan's latest announcement of building the AI Applied Sciences program that he's launching now in 2 years.
No.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So he's like, college shouldn't be 4 years. What are kids doing for 4 years in college? Because technology is changing so fast. So he
Yeah.
is launching a 2-year program with TED in collaboration with TED and Replit. 2-year
Wow.
applied AI. Apply AI to whatever you are passionate about. Learn about that skill, and that's it. 2 years, that's all that you need. So I think what we need is more models like that.
I love that. Now I have to go check it out. I want to share 2 things. Number one, when you talked about people putting their kids in the box and having them being fed, I grew up on a farm raising chickens, and I kind of feel like that's the force feeding part. But the other thing that comes to mind, I'm going to share this with you. My kids love this. My wife thinks I'm cruel. Every summer, I create a workbook for them at their level based on their interests, and they have to complete it. And it's not about learning something, it's about learning how to learn. And I'm teaching them how to be a communicator and honestly, how to be curious.
Yeah.
And my first one, it was this thick. There's a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
My wife's like, "You are cruel." And then
Yeah.
one day I came home and my 12-year-old was like 6 chapters in, and he's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
kids will learn what they want to learn when they want to learn it. So
Yeah. And I think my dad was in the army for 22 years, so he was away a lot. And my mom and she was an entrepreneur, so we did not have a traditional life growing up. And that gave me so much of freedom to just be by myself, get into classical dance, get into sports, get into so many other things that developed me so much. Because I keep telling people, Jeff, I have no business being where I am. I am in San Francisco, a non-technical person. I'm like, I have an undergrad in physical therapy, a diploma in Shakespeare and theater from London, and a master's in social entrepreneurship. And I am building tech companies. I've built venture-backed companies. And I've been a professor of entrepreneurship at San Francisco State University. Like that, I have no business being here. But if you look at my life, it's basically the range of things that I was exposed to always made me feel that I was a beginner. I was never comfortable that I know enough. And that kept that curiosity alive. I'm a big fan of the book Range by David Epstein. And he talks about most of the athletes, most of the performers that are doing really well out there did not just spend their life honing one art or one sport. And their techniques are the most strange. Like Roger Federer was actually a soccer player for a very long time. He had soccer training and then he went into tennis, and nobody can guess his next move because he applies his soccer training to his tennis games.
Yeah.
That is wild for me. So that and that is the pedagogy that we have at Build with AI, and we have the node of pedagogy. So it's based on 5 different systems. One is Range by David Epstein, that book, and one is Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. I love that book. It's a phenomenal book for me.
Yeah.
The Gurukul system of India, where kids would go out in the forest and learn their specific skill, and there was one-to-one learning with a mentor, that, and the Scandinavian system of open play, open learning, let kids be outside. It's so important. And life is not happening in subjects. Why are we teaching kids subjects? Like, how do you take away physics from chemistry and biology from English? All of that is happening together.
Yeah. You're going to have to ask me that question later, because right now is chemistry time and I'm not going to do physics.
Exactly. And then finally, the book called Blink by Malcolm.
Oh, yeah.
Because it says that once you feel it's your intuition, but your body stores all the knowledge and experiences. And the more exposed you are, your body makes better, faster decisions. So those are the 5 theses that I brought together for Build with AI University. This is maybe how humans can learn. And I'm not seeing anything outside. This is how I have learned. These are the books that have shaped me. So
I love it. Now I'm going to share one of my most prized possessions that my eldest son, Malcolm, will inherit. It is an autographed copy of Blink with Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh my God.
I was at a conference and I was there, and they said, we're not telling everybody, but he's doing a book signing before he does his keynote. And the one rule, his handler was very specific. Don't talk to him. Don't touch him. Don't get too close. And just give him the book. He'll sign it and get the heck out of here. And he doesn't even look up. He's got his pen in his hand and he's like, who should I make it out to? And I said, could you make it out to my son, Malcolm, who was in grade 1 at the time? I said, he was named after you. Aww. Next thing I know, I'm getting pictures taken with him. He gave me a hug, and his handler is like, oh, and I'm like, and everybody else is like, what did you do? And I'm like, I'm not telling. But so my son, for show and tell, he got to take that book to school. Nobody got it but him.
Amazing. What an amazing book. What an insightful book.
Yeah.
That just changed everything. Like, my partner and I, we chose to get married over voice calls and FaceTime calls because we had never seen, and everybody's like, wait, how can you decide? You're 22, 23, 24. Like, I don't know. My gut tells me that this is the right decision. I did not have an answer at that time. It's been 14 years now. So clearly my body knew something was right. So
yeah. There's actually a term I use. It's called intuitive sensing. When you know. So my wife and I, same thing. We were engaged half an hour after we physically met.
Aww.
And all the people who told us it would never last have since been divorced. And now they're asking us 20 some years later, what's your advice? Yeah. Don't listen to your friends.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So you and I, we need to have more conversations, especially, I'm going to add another book for you because it will break your brain. But it's Yu-Kai Chow's book about octolysis and the gamification framework. It's addictive, just to warn you.
Okay.
He is my favorite gamification guy. There's a bunch of others. I think Jane McGonigal is another one, but he is just this crazy guy who all that he does is about gamification. And what got me there, so both of my boys actually have official roles in the family company. Yeah. They're chief video game officers. And so their job, we've done this for years, is they're allowed to play video games if they'll talk to me about how it applies to their life. And we've talked, they don't know this, but way back when with Minecraft, they learned science, chemistry, scarcity, supply and demand. But I taught them the dual economies of every game, because every game has the super common credits that you just rack up just by showing up. And then there's the rare economy where you got to put in a little effort. They don't know it, but they're little entrepreneurs. My oldest, when he was probably about 10 or 11, he was playing, it was a Jurassic Park Evolution. It was like the first version. And he was running multi-billion-dollar virtual dinosaur theme parks. And I'm like, man, the original Jurassic Park people would be jealous. But he was managing his little virtual workers, and, you know, he was determining how much to pay them. And he'd go to school and his friends are like, I'm playing Fortnite and I killed a bunch of people. Like, it was just,
I know.
So I'm obsessed with, you know, when people say, oh, kids can't learn from video games, to this day, my oldest now, he knows every dinosaur ever actually to have existed and all of the virtual ones that they created for the game. And he can tell you the difference.
Yeah. And I think that is 100% my experience as well. So my partner is an AI game developer. That's like what
I heard that.
Right. So that's what he does. And I was very much into video games growing up, which was, again, unheard of for a girl in India to be doing that. But I love video games. My dad got me my first computer desktop setup when I was in second grade. And that was, again, unheard of. You know, you're having this, and we would play these video games in DOS at that time. You know, you would play hands and the game would start. And it was the most fascinating thing. And at that time, my mom wasn't an entrepreneur. She was teaching computer science and coding. So getting that experience, I think there's something in the game theory. When we were building our first startup, it was called Da Vinci Club, basically because we wanted kids to have varied experiences and bring that together, like Leonardo da Vinci. We studied something called the zone of proximal development, which is the challenge needs to be as engaging, but as hard equally for the kid or for the user to keep going to the next level. And that is how life functions, right? There's a challenge thrown at you and you're like, no, I have to make it. This is hard. I don't have a job. I need to get a job. I don't have rent. I have to pay rent, whatever that challenge is, right? And you work towards it. And that's exactly how video games work. That's exactly what you have to get to the next level. And for me, it just, and then Harry Potter had a big influence on me growing up as well. And, you know, even now I read that book multiple times a year, but I think that zone of proximal development is what video games offer kids, which education doesn't. It is not engaging. It is just challenging or not challenging at all, given the current policies where we're hoping that people, so the outcome has become more important, the outcome that people have a GED, the outcome that you are graduating high school and not dropping out of high school, that we've forgotten what are they learning.
We completely lost the plot. Okay, so you and I have to do an entire episode just on that, okay?
Oh my God. So much to talk about. I could not. Wow.
Okay, you and I were clearly long lost, separated at birth, kind of. We were meant to have this conversation. I could talk to you all day, and I can't believe our time is almost up. Where can people go to connect with you, learn more about what you do? How can they keep this conversation going? Because this is part one of several, I guarantee it.
Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram, TikTok by my name, Arjita Sethi, or you can go to buildwithaiuniversity.com to understand more about my work around the AI era and how I want people to learn about it and thrive in this time. But I had so much fun, Jeff. This did not feel like a conversation. We have so much to unpack. I was just looking at the time. Wait, we are at time, but we need to talk about this and we need to talk about this. This is brilliant. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for connecting me to the people within your network through this podcast. I appreciate it, and I appreciate each one of you who's listening to this. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. And yes, this is part one. So thank you.